By far, the most popular question that I get asked in the comments and DMs over on Instagram is, I'm trying to power this thing and which power station should I get? So I've been making videos looking at the lineups of various companies' power stations, and today we're going to take a look at DJI's 3 power stations here. We have the Power 500, the Power 1000 V2, which is just coming out, and the Power 2000. So by the end of this video, you should have a good idea of which of the 3 DJI power stations would be best suited for what you're trying to power or what you're trying to achieve. Now, full disclosure, this video is sponsored by DJI, but this is a video I wanted to make anyways. But as always, all my opinions are my own. Okay, so how we're gonna do this video is I'm gonna walk you through what I think are critical specifications when selecting a power station. And we're gonna go through the 500, 1000 V2, and 2000 with each of those. So you can see a direct comparison rather than walk you through the 500 and then the 1000 V2 and then the 2000. The first most important thing when selecting a power station, I think, is capacity. Think of it, each of these power stations as a bucket of water. When you plug a device in, it's like connecting a hose to that bucket of water. How much water are you going to need before you have to refill your bucket? The Power 500, that is gonna be about 500 watt hours of power, which means you can run a device that has 500 watts of load for 1 hour, or a 1000 watt device for 30 minutes. The Power 1000 V2, well, it's 1000 watt hours. That means you could run that 500 watt device for 2 hours. And the Power 2000 is gonna be 2000 watt hours. You could run that 500 watt device for 4 hours. Watt hours seem to be what the industry has standardized on for describing capacity, and it really doesn't matter if you're using AC 110 power, or you're using USB ports, or you're using any of these expansion ports for powering other devices, like maybe charging your drone batteries or anything else. Watt hours are the standard number for describing how big the bucket of electricity is stored in these batteries. Now, as far as battery composition goes, you're going to see some terms tossed around in the industry like LFP or Life PO4. That is essentially the same battery composition. The only thing you really need to know though is how many charge cycles can each of these power stations go through before they start to deplete their capacity. And LFP batteries have really made a huge difference in preserving the life of the capacity of your battery. Now, all 3 of these are going to use LFP. However, the Power 500 has a slightly lower rating. DJI rates this at 4,000 charge cycles and maintaining 70% of its original capacity. Where the Power 1000 V2 and the Power 2000, well, they can do those same 4,000 charge cycles, but maintain 80% of their original capacity. But to put that into perspective, that means you can charge each of these power stations fully once per day for over 10 years, and you're still getting 70% of the original life with the Power 500, 80% and 80% with the Power 2000 and Power 1000 V2. The second major thing I think that everybody needs to consider when selecting a power station is, what are you actually running off of it and how much output do you need? So we talked about capacity, but there's also how big of a hose can you connect to each power station. So how many devices are you going to need to run off of each one of these? The Power 500 has 2 AC 110 output ports, which has a maximum continuous output combined of 1000 watts. So that means you can put something in here that will require 1000 watts of output. Your AC is definitely going to be the biggest draw on any of these power stations, although you do have USB ports. We have a pair of 100 watt USB-C ports on the Power 500 and 24 watt USB-As. We have 4 AC ports on the Power 1000 V2. That's gonna give you a combined output maximum of 2,600 watts. We also have USB ports on the front, but we have 2 140 watt USB ports. So those are actually going to give you more charging through Type-C, through a Type-C connector, and then you have your 24 watt USB-As. Now on the Power 2000, things look a little bit different. We have 3 standard 110 ports, and then we have a 30 amp port that you can actually plug in like something like your camper into and run it off the Power 2000. The Power 2000 is also going to have a continuous output across these ports of 3,000 watts. So bigger battery, but you can drain it faster. But I think it's important to get a power station that meets your needs, because as you can see, these are significantly different in size and weight as well. So if you want something that's easier to grab and go and carry around, the Power 500 is definitely going to be a lot better for that. Although the Power 1000 V2, I can still just barely pick it up with one hand, but you can grab the 2 handles on it and carry it to where you need to go. And the Power 2000, I'm not going to attempt to carry that with one hand. This is definitely better to put somewhere and leave it. This is less of a grab and go power station than the Power 1000 V2 and the Power 500. And as far as actual weight goes, this guy is 7.3 kilograms, which is going to be a little over 15 pounds. The Power 1000 V2 is 14.2 kilograms, which is going to be around 30 pounds. And the Power 2000 is 22 kilograms, which is going to be close to 50 pounds. So quite a significant weight difference, which is why I think it's important to get a power station that meets your needs. And if weight and portability and carrying around is important, you don't want to go too big with a power station. The next thing that I think is important when thinking about selecting a power station is charging. So there's 2 things that I want to talk about with charging. Charging options, whether you need to connect this to solar or a rapid charger. DJI puts out the 1 kilowatt charger that you can connect up to one of the SDC expansion ports on the Power 1000 V2 and the Power 2000, or whether you're just going to be plugging it into household power. Now you may think that because each of these has different capacity amounts that charging will be significantly different. And the reality of it is, if you're just plugging this into the wall, these are going to have very similar charge times. So with the fast mode, which you can select on each of these, they have a charging switch. So you don't have to open up any apps or anything to change how fast these charge. They have a toggle switch right on the front with them. You're going to be able to select just how many watts these can charge at. Now, when you're connected to wall power, it really doesn't matter, because essentially power is unlimited, other than tripping your circuit breaker, which I have done more than once, trying to charge too many power stations at once. But the Power 500 is going to charge to full in about 70 minutes. Now the Power 1000 V2 is actually going to charge to full in about 56 minutes. That's because when you set it to its higher speed charging mode, it's going to draw more watts from the wall and charge quicker. And the Power 2000 is going to charge to full in about 75 minutes, despite being 4 times the size of the Power 500. So the last thing I want to cover are extra nice to have features, which there is some difference between the 3 of these power stations. One thing that's great about portable power stations, we're an off-road outdoor camping channel. These are great to have around the house if you want to power, say, your wireless internet or your computer or your TV. If the power goes out, these can be super handy for more than just camping. But there are a few things that you should know. When you're going to have these plugged into your device, they're going to be in line. You're going to have your wall power, then your DJI power station, and then your device. There is a cutover time, how quickly these can switch from wall power to battery power, which may or may not make a difference depending on what you're connecting up to it. The Power 500 has a 20 millisecond cutover time, which is very fast, but not as fast as the Power 1000 V2, which has a 10 millisecond cutover, as well as the Power 2000, which also has a 10 millisecond cutover. So if you have some latency sensitive devices to power, you may want to consider the 1000 V2 or the 2000, because they will cut over from grid power, wall power, AC power to battery power a little bit quicker. Well, twice the speed, 10 milliseconds faster. And that may make a difference to some more sensitive electronics. So what else is nice to have on a power station? Well, DJI uses these SDC expansion ports so that you can plug in other things to them. You can plug these into a 12-volt car adapter to charge it, or a 12-volt barrel connector to power a device. On the 500, they use a light port. The light port has some limitations. On the 1000 V2, we have a light port and a regular port. Same with on the Power 2000. Now, the big difference is that you are going to be able to plug in expansion batteries to the Power 1000 V2 and the Power 2000. So DJI actually sells more batteries. They kind of look like this or like this, slightly lighter because they don't have as much equipment in them. And you can chain together batteries to give you more capacity or make your bucket bigger by adding more batteries to it. You can't add any expansion batteries to the Power 500. And there is a difference in how many expansion batteries you can add to the 1000 V2 and the 2000. The 2000, well, if money is no object and you need to power everything in the universe for a really long time, you can add 10 2000 watt hour expansion batteries to this. So you can chain 10 of these guys together, not the Power 2000 itself, but the Power 2000 expansion battery, giving you over 22,000 watt hours of battery storage or electricity storage, which is absolutely insane and would be great for powering your RV or your house or anything you might have plugged into this larger 30 amp 110 plug. Now on the Power 1000 V2, you can plug up to 5 expansion batteries, and that is going to give you about 11,000 watt hours of additional capacity. Grab and go. Not a lot of expandability, but super lightweight, easy to use, somewhere in the middle, and the beast. Another thing you may want to consider is how quiet these devices are. If you're worried about noise, well, you can set these into the standard charging mode, and all of them charge almost silently. There's not a huge difference in how many decibels these put out, but the Power 500 puts out about 25 decibels, which is very quiet. The Power 1000 V2 is about 26 decibels, and the Power 2000 is about the same at 26 decibels. So when you're operating these, they are very quiet. These are some of the quietest power stations that I've tested when they're charging at a high rate of charge speed or very quiet at a low rate, or even when you have devices plugged into them. One thing that power stations can do when you have the inverter running at a high output is they'll spin up fans, and all 3 of these are very quiet when running major loads off of them. And I think the last thing to consider is, do you need mobile connectivity? So DJI has an app that can control some of their power stations. 2000 has built-in connectivity to it. You can connect the app and control it. The upgrade that the 1000 has with the V2 is now that is included. With the original V1, you actually had to buy a dongle that plugged into one of these SDC ports. So it was an after add-on. I think having that included is great and super important, but the 500 doesn't have any connectivity. There's no app that you can connect to it. And I don't think that's such a big issue because these are more of grab and go power stations. Any of these smaller power stations, whether it's DJI or another brand, I think these are not powering your RV or your house or something you want to be able to have some sort of app connectivity into to monitor the power output. You can control the ports, things like that. But the 2 larger DJI power stations do have that. I'll leave you with a couple last thoughts if you're thinking about the DJI brand over some other brands. Everything is on the front of the DJI power stations, which I think can be quite useful for grab and go power stations. You can put these in a smaller spot where you have something close to the sides and behind them. You don't have to worry about getting any cables around the back. You put them down and you can plug everything you need to in the front for charging or outputs. The other thing to consider is if you need to connect any solar to these, you will need to get an adapter because there is no standard solar port going into the power stations. DJI uses the SDC ports, and you can buy a adapter that allows you to connect XT60 connectors to it, which is kind of the standard solar port connector for connecting to power stations. They don't include that on here, but not everybody needs solar. So I think they're just kind of targeting, well, we've got STC ports and we can be flexible with the use of them. And let's keep these simple as grab and go power stations. Okay, so I know this is a very popular time of year to be buying power stations. There's a lot of sales going on, a lot of new products being launched. Hopefully this gives you a better idea of how to select a power station in general, but more specifically, which of the DJI power stations you may want to select if that is the brand that you're looking at going with. Now the Power 1000 V2 just came out, so I'm going to do a deeper dive into it as well, comparing it to the original Power 1000. So what are you actually getting in the new V2? That video will be coming out very shortly. I'm sure some of you guys will be interested in that, so make sure you're subscribed. I put out new videos all the time, everything from power station walkthroughs, buying guides, reviews, to all kinds of other products for camping and outdoor activities, as well as I go out and take my Jeeps on adventures. Hit the subscribe button, and if you have any questions about the products in today's video, leave a question down in the comments below, and there'll be links down in the description if you want to check out any of these products for yourself. My name's Casey, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.